Hey everybody, sorry about that. I got kicked out of my own event. We're going to go ahead and get started now that hopefully the technical difficulties are behind us. So thank you everybody for joining tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and launch the presentation. And let me share my screen. Okay, so I want to make sure that, there we go. Okay. Manar, are you seeing the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Monica Petrella, and it is a pleasure to be the food system coordinator here for Hillsborough County. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what that means. So first, before we get started, as you can see, I'm already having some technical issues. I'm going to go straight to my boss tomorrow morning and tell him that I need a better computer. So thank you for your patience with that. But so let's continue to be patient. If you can make sure that you are muted and that your camera is turned off, that'll make it so that we don't have any kind of extra chaos, and also makes it a little easier to stream this kind of stuff. We're going to do a question and answer at the end, and so you should have a Q&A option at the bottom of your screen next to the chat. So the Q&A is kind of an easier way to read those questions. So as the presentation is going, if you want to drop any questions in there, we can try to answer them at the end if we have time. And then in theory, this is being recorded. And so hopefully this will be available online later as well. So for anybody who couldn't make it. And so real quick, I want to see if I can actually launch a poll. Let's not get our hopes up, I guess. So I guess actually I'm not even going to get in the weeds with that. That'll be for another time. But I want to know who here, if you can maybe use the React on your screen, who here has heard of extension, UF-IFAS extension, Hillsborough County extension? Cool. I'm seeing a few hands. I'm loving that. Seeing a lot of hearts, a lot of thumbs up. That's great. That's wonderful. And so for those of you that don't know what extension is, so basically every single state in the nation has a land grant. Universities were created in 1862, and I think that was under President Lincoln. Universities were becoming these state institutions for research. They needed they were generally have the resources to share that. We created something called extension. An extension is basically a commitment. Okay, hi again. Sorry, that got kicked out again. So anyways, Hillsborough County Extension is a public resource that specializes in resource management. And so I am so lucky to have a team of colleagues who is all, I guess you can't see the presentation anymore, who are all experts in different various resource management. And so whether that's natural resources, so backyard composting, rainwater harvesting, how to grow your own garden, or your personal resources. We have experts that are already funded by your taxpayer dollars and happy to educate you or your community. So please consider extension something that you can use as you are, living your day-to-day life and trying to seek out more resource management strategies. And then Homegrown Hillsborough is a brand new program, and it is within extension. I am happy to be the coordinator. And so Homegrown Hillsborough is a brand new food system program that is working to connect food system stakeholders to ultimately be able to see something called the collective impact of our work, which is ultimately each of us committing to individual tasks to see a bigger goal realized. And so tonight we're going to talk about local food. And because everybody eats, food is this omnipresent thing that it's a big system. And so if we want to see a systems change through the food system, it's going to take a lot of people kind of chipping in and doing their part. Tonight we're going to hear from 3 farmers who are doing theirs, and we can learn how we can do ours. And so on the screen, there is a way to scan to sign up for the newsletter. I'm sure a lot of you heard about this event through the newsletter. And if you want to hear about more, then it's a great way to stay involved. And you can learn about ways to grow your own food, or how to support people that are doing that, or healthy eating, as well as various nonprofits and other efforts that are going on. And so Homegrown Hillsborough is within Hillsborough County Extension, and it is an honor to be the Homegrown Hillsborough coordinator. So tonight we're talking about local farms. And so I'm not going to launch the poll because I'm terrified that if I blink that my computer will crash. And so basically I wanted to see by a show of hands, we can do that with the reacts. Who here has heard the term know your farmer? Cool. We got some hands, we got some thumbs up. I'm loving that, some hearts. Okay, great. So Know Your Farmer was actually a campaign that was initiated under the Obama administration. And so with Know Your Farmer, it actually was short for Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food. And it was a intentional initiative to create a closer relationship between eaters and producers. And so in 2009, it was one of the first things that the Obama administration prioritized, and they created this thing called the Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food Compass. And on the screen, you can see a screenshot of what that looked like. It had a lot of really good information and case studies and pictures, and it was this very cool online tool. Unfortunately, it's not around anymore. As administrations change, sometimes things on the websites also change. And so, but with it, there was a lot of success with that term, know your farmer, know your farmer, know your food. And that kind of was one of the things that really initiated this recent renaissance in community food and local food. And so when you hear the term know your farmer, it actually refers to a kind of a bundle of federal funding. Some of those grants are still around today, and just a more targeted initiative to connect consumers with their food. And so I think that's pretty cool. And so now Know Your Farmer is kind of just like a thing we see a lot. It's something that I think is, we're all striving to do that and to adopt that more into our consumption habits. And this is one of the quotes that I thought was really meaningful. So as Americans, we share a common desire to invest in our communities and reap the benefits that stem from that investment. And since we all eat, the money we spend on food is a powerful investment tool. And we're going to learn a little bit more about that tool and how it is powerful. And because it is something that we all do, the ability to really unlock some economic, social, and environmental benefits can be amplified because it's something that everybody should be participating in. And so the power can really lie in those investment dollars. And so the benefits of supporting local. A lot of times we hear that local food is sustainable. And if you break down what sustainable means, it's generally accepted that sustainable is the balance of 3 things. It's the balance of the economy, of the environment, and of society, of social aspects. And so for each of those kind of 3 different pillars within sustainability, there's lots of evidence as to why local food production has these economic, environmental, and social benefits. And so this is just a short list just to kind of pique your interest. But if you are interested in learning more, there are infinite resources out there. And UF-IFAS Extension has our online publication called EDIS, E-D-I-S. And we have a lot of peer-reviewed research on the power of local food systems on that website. And so really quickly, some of the economic benefits is that it stimulates job opportunities and generates local revenues because small local farms actually require more employees. And so later we're going to hear from Nicole, who works for Meacham, and she can talk about kind of their staff and how many people they have at their farm. But in a giant kind of perspective, for every $1 million of revenue from a local farm generally requires 13 full-time jobs versus a more industrial commodity farm only has 3 jobs per $1 million of revenue. So that's quite a lot, right? And so when we talk about green jobs, or when we talk about trying to get people engaged into meaningful workforce activities, local farms should be something that we think about. And then not only is the output of the jobs and the job creation something that's meaningful, but also farmers markets have time and time again demonstrated to be these economic boosts for the towns and the locations and the neighborhoods that they're in. So a good example is the Hyde Park Farmers Market. It happens on the first Sunday of the month, and those businesses in Hyde Park love that farmers market because it brings in thousands of people that maybe wouldn't have been there. And so not only are these small vendors able to access a new market of consumers, but also the surrounding area benefits too. And farmers markets are something where I know when I travel, I seek out to see where's a farmers market. I want to go see these local products. So they really do have a lot of power as these economic engines. Environmentally, local food can help preserve genetic diversity. And so while our conventional industrial food system is pretty good, pretty reliable, generally the varieties are limited. So I bet you that red bell pepper that you've been picking up, at the Publix has been the same one that you've been picking up for your whole life. So local foods often try to use heirloom varieties and more native varieties to their area that are better for local pollinators, better for the environment. They're generally more drought and heat resistant, and they're just better adapted for that climate. And so the power of local producers is that they often choose a variety of seeds that can increase our genetic diversity, which can make the whole ecosystem stronger. They also help preserve open spaces by maintaining food production over more intense forms of development. So here in Hillsborough County, we are very much seeing that as our population continues to grow and the urban area continues to expand. What was open pastures are now being converted into offices and buildings and schools and houses. And this is not to say one is better than the other. We need all of those things. But local producers can help maintain that green space in your community. And then often local farmers through direct to consumer, which we're going to talk about in just a moment, they often adopt environmentally stringent production practices because they have an innate investment in this area. So they very much care about where they are and how their food impacts the environment around them. And so a lot of times when you do get to know your farmer, you'll talk about these things with them, and they'll tell you the different environmental aspects that they care about. One of the things that could surface and is kind of like anecdotally true, but doesn't necessarily have the same kind of peer-reviewed science, is that oftentimes local and direct-to-consumer farmers hate plastic, and they're trying to reduce plastic in their supply chain. And so I know that that Meacham and Trailville and Sweetwater, the farms that we're going to talk to tonight, they all try to reduce their plastic input or output, and because that's something they care about, right? They know that this plastic is going to be expensive to recycle, or maybe just go to a landfill. And so there's some anecdotal evidence that those better practices are also more common through local farmers, direct-to-consumer farmers. And then lastly, the social benefits of being of local farms is that it helps build relationships. And that's what we're going to kind of do a little bit tonight is build a relationship with some food producers. And so how often when you pick up that red bell pepper at Publix, how often do you get to talk to the farmer that grew that? Probably never. And so there's a lot of benefit in that. You build trust, and so you begin to really trust that this person is taking you into account and is taking your safety and your family safety into account, and that's good. More trust in our community is good. It helps with the fabric of our communities. So think of like the Strawberry Festival in Plant City. Think of how much fun that is when March rolls around. And if you haven't been, you should definitely go. And if you have been, then you know what I'm talking about, where it's something to look forward to. There's all these strawberry recipes, and there's the Strawberry Queen, and there's the Strawberry Parade. And that's just part of that Plant City cultural fabric. And that's important. That's a way to gather and kind of just have common practices and common values. Um, and then there is something called the Goldschmidt thesis, which claims that there is a direct relationship between the farm scale and management characteristics and community quality of life. And so specifically what it claims is that smaller scale owner operated farms were associated with more vibrant, diverse economies and with higher standards of living. And so the opposite is that communities that have large industrial commodity farms often have less vibrant, less diverse communities with not as high of a standard of living. And so the Goldschmidt thesis is something that's been around for over 100 years. And then definitely recently, more scientists have been trying to demonstrate the validity of that and are trying to draw some conclusions about the relationship between having a community that is full of small scale owner operated farms and the quality of life in those communities. And so what is local? And so there really is no definition. If you were to go out right now, you'd see a few options, and those include 100 miles. Oftentimes people talk about local being within 100 miles of the consumption point within the production point. The USDA uses 400 miles, which is pretty big. Like the state of Florida, I think from north to south is probably close to that. And then oftentimes you also see state boundaries as a way to define local. So if it's within your state, then that's local. And so obviously a state like Florida versus a state like Rhode Island, those are different miles. And so it really is up to the community to kind of define what local means to them. But you'll see kind of all of these thrown around. But for us, for our purposes, for Holmgren Hillsborough, local is Hillsborough County. And so you can see on the map that even at its kind of widest point, Hillsborough County is really only about 50 miles. And so we are definitely surpassing that 100-mile radius and getting even more hyper-local. I did these measurements from downtown Tampa. So obviously, if you live in Keystone up in the Northwest, a farmer down in Wamama is going to be closer to, you know, that 40-mile distance, but still is really very, very close. And you know, for the most part, I think that 100 miles is generally like one of the small measures of local. And so here, if we support Hillsborough County farmers, we're engaging in hyper local, which is really great, and we can see those benefits even on a closer scale. And so with local, because the mileage can be kind of this flowing fluid thing, a lot of times we also think about local as through the different markets. And so there are kind of three main categories of marketing. There is mainstream or industrial or commodity. Those are all the same. And that's where we, for the most part, get all of our food. That's what you see in Publix. That's what you see in Aldi and Trader Joe's. Any mainstream grocery store that isn't going out of their way to support a small local farmer is probably getting through this commodity industrial production. And that's fine. We can have future conversations about the differences and strengths and weaknesses of different levels of marketing. But in general, when you are engaging in commodity purchasing, there's not always a farm ID. And so you can pick up a pack of blueberries and it'll say Driscoll's, and Driscoll's is the name of the company. But this company might be aggregating from lots and lots of different farms. Sometimes you'll see that, you know, it's from Salinas, California. And that might be where the headquarters is. That might be where the packer, grower, shipper is. But it doesn't necessarily mean that's where all those farms were. And so sometimes on commodity, you can see a farm ID, but sometimes you can't. And the farm ID isn't really what's important to them. What's important to the commodity markets is more of this quality, uniformity, and consistency. And so then we have intermediate markets, and intermediate markets generally have one step in between the farmer and the consumer. And so a lot of times this is what people consider a food hub. A food hub is an aggregation center that aggregates from a variety of farms and then distributes it to make it so that larger purchasers can get the bulk they need in an easier way. So a way to think about that would be like a hospital that would want to support a local farm. They need more than 12 tomatoes from the farmers market. They need 2,000 pounds of tomatoes. And so a food hub, an intermediate market, can aggregate tomatoes from a variety of farms and then help deliver that to this hospital. And sometimes there's a farm ID, sometimes not, kind of depending on the values of that food hub. But you can also have food hubs that do direct to consumer markets as well. And that's a lot of times you will very much see that farm ID because that's a value that is part of this supply chain that people are interested. They want to know where it comes from. And so a food hub can help get it onto a grocery store where a consumer can go buy it. That consumer can see where those microgreens came from. And then lastly, there is something called direct to consumer. And that's really what we're going to talk about tonight and talk with farmers that are engaged in direct to consumer marketing. And so that's exactly how it sounds. It's from the farmer to the consumer. And so you can see in the picture of the farmers market that on one side of the tent or the table, you have the farmers. On the other side, you have the consumers. And if you go to Meacham and Sweetwater and Trailvale, that's exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get this direct to consumer market. And so there is a producer-client relationship. Generally, you can ask questions right there on the spot and get answers right there on the spot. And though some options for different ways for this direct-to-consumer marketing is through farmers markets, something called a CSA, which stands for Community Supported Agriculture. By a quick kind of Zoom raise of hands, who here knows or has heard of a CSA? Cool. We got some hands. Great. That's great. Perfect. So a CSA is an interesting marketing scheme, which means that in the beginning of a season, a consumer is going to buy into the farm. And so they're not an owner of the farm, but they are kind of an owner of the harvest. And so it's a way that consumers can help communicate to farmers and say, we really support what you're doing. We know there's inherent risk in farming and we want to take that risk with you. Instead of all of us being farmers, why don't we just support a farmer who can provide food for all of us? Let's put our money where our mouth is. And so generally how that happens is the beginning of a season, you pay an upfront cost. Sorry, Catherine, if you could just mute yourself real quick, that'd be great. And so if you pay an upfront cost and then throughout the season, you get like a weekly harvest based on what the farmers grew. And so a lot of small farms implement a CSA. I know that Sweetwater will talk about their CSA model that they have. And by raise of hands, it seems like a lot of you know about it. So that's great. There's also UPIC, which is just like it sounds. You go out to the farm yourself, they give you a bucket and you go and you get blueberries and strawberries and peaches and apples and all kinds of different stuff that they have there. And then generally you weigh it by the pound, but that is another kind of direct to consumer. You're going onto the farm. There's on-farm sales, which is a retail shop that's on the farm, whether that's a farm stand or an actual kind of refrigerated system that we'll see that Meacham has. And then online sales, which is you order it and whether it's delivered to you or you go and pick it up. And then on-farm events or agritourism. And so this is maybe an on-farm event might not be you going and getting a whole bunch of produce. It might be celebrating watermelon month and going to the farm and trying a watermelon slushie and taking part of the watermelon parade, those kind of small promotional things. But that does help drive economic development for the farm, and it does help build a consumer base, which ultimately helps the farm. And so now we're going to meet our farmers. And so I am so honored and pleased that we have three great farmers with us tonight. We have Chris Kenrick, who is the farm manager at Sweetwater Organic Community Farm, which was Florida's first CSA. So I just mentioned what a CSA was. So I think probably 20 years ago, Sweetwater launched the very first CSA here in Florida. And so I think that's really cool that we have that in our backyard. And then we're going to hear from Nicole Cublins, who is the market manager at Meacham Urban Farm, also a farmer as well. And Meacham was Tampa's first urban farm. So really just right in downtown Tampa, it could not get closer to the urban core. And then we have Trail Bale, which is led by Travis Malloy, who does protein production, which a lot of times is pretty rare to find in a local setting. Protein is hard. There's a lot of food safety stuff. There's a lot of death and tragedy. And if you get his newsletters, you'll learn about some of that. And so Travis offers, he raises chickens, hogs, and turkeys, and he'll talk a little bit more about his products too. So first, I want to invite Chris to come on screen. I'm going to take myself off. I'm going to mute myself and give you about 10 minutes to talk about your farm. You can use these questions as guiding questions, or you can just share with us with what you want. So, so Chris, please come on down.
Hello, hello.
Great, we can hear you. Perfect. Thank you.
I'm trying to see what you can see. So I'm on the screen right now.
We can see you. Look nice and warm.
Yeah, I'm at the northern farm right now. So hello, my name is Chris Kenrick, Sweetwater Organic Community Farm. I'm the director of Sweetwater. Eric, I don't believe he's on the call right now, but Eric is our farm manager. And Cindy's on the call. Cindy is our education coordinator. We had a farm field trip today, and we have a field trip tomorrow and field trip on Friday. We are Florida's oldest CSA, community supported agricultural farm. This year, Sweetwater Organic Community Farm celebrates 30 years. The farm was started or founded by Rick Martinez, another great leader in the local food movement for Tampa Bay and the state of Florida, and really farms across the country. I mean, he was one of the first organic certifiers in the country, and really internationally. He would go all over the world certifying organic farms. But currently Sweetwater Organic Community Farm is 100% volunteer run. So thank you to everybody that's lended a hand to get us to where we are today. I recognize a lot of the names that are on the call today, and a lot of you I don't know as well. So come out and see the farm yourself. Every Sunday is our volunteer day, 9 a.m. to 12. Every Sunday is our farmers market. Every Sunday we have yoga. Every Sunday during our market season, which goes end of October to beginning of May, we have live music, open mic. And like Monica said, thank you, Monica, for putting this event on. We are a CSA farm, so we sell a membership, and then that member would be entitled to 7 to 9 items for our 24-week season. Our CSA season runs from the end of November until first week of May. We don't have we're already sold out of our CSA shares for this season because we're a volunteer-run farm, we're a nonprofit farm, we're an education farm first and a production farm second. And the farm, Sweetwater does a lot of things. I probably wouldn't have time to talk about all the different things, but if you come out, we do a free farm tour the first Sunday of every month at 1 o'clock. Otherwise, you're welcome to come out and see the farm anytime on Sunday. We've got a whole lineup of classes scheduled for this season. We've got cheese making, pasta making. We're firing up the wood-fired pizza oven next Sunday with Greg from Pizzeria Gregario, probably one of the best artisanal pizzas around. He used to have a pizza place in Safety Harbor, and now we've brought the pizza oven to the farm. Sweetwater, we look at it as kind of like community infrastructure and how can we serve the community in many different ways. We have a cafe on the farm. We do field trips, classes, workshops, events, farm to table dinners. We're in the process of building a campground. So that talks a little bit, I'll look at your guide, Monica, the history of the farm. Those of you that know Rick, I mean, Rick's in this picture right here. You know, the farm was started in '93, but in 2019, the farm was going to be sold. And then the community came together to save the farm. And then actually next week, there's a public hearing, that's November 15th, where the county, Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners will be voting on putting a conservation easement on Sweetwater Organic Community Farm, protecting the farm forever as an agricultural entity. And that's kind of always been Joni, my wife. She's really the head farmer. She really runs the farm. It's really been our mission to kind of save the farm once and save it forever. So that way it's always an agricultural entity. And hopefully next week that will be come to fruition. Also, the county is making an investment to pay off one of the mortgages. So protect the farm forever, make it debt free, and be a resource for the community forever. And that will continue to evolve and change as the community's needs evolve and change. I mean, our goal is that one day, you know, we have the cafe. It's only open one day a week, but our goal is that someday it'll become a co-op grocery store. Now, that'll come to fruition when the community's ready for that, or when somebody's ready to help make that happen. We are a no-till farm, so we are a volunteer-run farm. We do everything by hand, and we are a deep mulch, no-till farm. Most of the stuff is planted during the week when during school field trips, so 3rd, 4th, 5th graders during the week, planting, and then on the weekend, Sunday, we get a lot of teenagers that are coming out to get their Bright Future hours, scholarship hours, and they're volunteering on the farm. And then the produce is harvested then, and then our market opens at 12 o'clock. And a lot of our members are CSA members are SNAP and EBT benefit holders, so they can use their SNAP and EBT benefits to purchase produce from the farm. One of the other photos I see is the Outstanding in the Field event. We usually do 3 to 4 farm to table dinners a year. We'll do Planters Ball in January, probably around January 13th. That's our sweet potato eggplant festival. And then we'll do a farm French breakfast around Valentine's Day, February. And then we'll do our big end of the year celebration, which is Pesto Festo. And that's celebration of everything Italian and basil and pizza. And that's always, most of our events are always kind of sold out. We don't do them very often. And we don't try to have thousands of people. We try to have quality versus quantity. Another one of these pictures I see is one of our field trips that comes on the farm. I think last year we had about 3,000 kids come through the farm. This year, Cindy will be able to tell you more. She's the one that schedules all of our field trips, but hopefully we'll be surpassing that number. I know that we added another day, so we should be having a lot more kids hopefully on the farm this year. And so how can you buy products? You can come to the farm. We're only open on Sunday, and we only sell on site. I know in the past, Sweetwater used to deliver all over the place, but since we're volunteer run right now, we only sell on the farm, only on Sunday, only from 12 to 3. But our CSA, I mean, we try to support many other farms and be a resource to other farms. Sometimes with our CSA, we supplement that with abundant produce from Little Pond Farm or Frog Song Farm or some of the other local farms as well. And we sell trail bale products at our cafe on the farm. And Farmer Joni, you have something to say? Oh, Farmer Joni says we're proud to partner with many of the other farmers. We need more farmers. We also need to protect more land so that there's farming space available for future farmers. And so we're always happy to be a part of anybody else's initiatives. And we're a resource. You know, we get our manure from the Tampa Zoo. That's our sort of growing medium. And we get the mulch from the mulch companies. These wastes for other companies, it's a resource for us. So we're always looking to find innovative ways to partner and be creative with other organizations. And the farm's available. So let us know how the farm can serve you and how you want to serve the farm. And we look forward to seeing you on the farm and looking forward to seeing how we can grow together. So if there's any questions, let me know. Otherwise, thank you to everybody for being a part of the movement as we continue to grow together. Thank you.
Chris, there's a couple questions in the chat for you.
Yeah, what's the questions? Okay, I guess I'll go to I'll go see if I can find the.
It's in Q&A.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you. One of them is just what's the address of your farm? And I know that Sweetwater can be like a little tricky to get to. So I don't know if you want to kind of explain how somebody can go and visit the farm and kind of what's the preferable way. And then the other question is, can you post the link to your classes? And I know that you're on I think you're on your phone maybe, so that might be a little hard, but
I'm on my computer. So yeah, we've got a whole bunch of classes. I know that this Sunday we're doing a hugelkultur. We do live music, pasta making, cheese making. There's a terrarium class. We're doing a home vinegar making with Sarah from St. Pete Ferments, tincture making. So I'll post this link. The address to the farm. We're in Town and Country. We always say that we're the last country left in Town and Country. And the farm is between Hanley and Sawyer. So take Hillsborough Avenue, 10 minutes west of the Tampa Airport, and take a right on Hanley and then take a right on Comanche. That's the best way to go to the farm. Handicap parking would take Hillsborough Avenue west, turn right on Sawyer, and then take a left on Comanche. That'd be our handicap parking. Yeah, so I think I posted the events link, so that should be accessible for everybody. Somebody asked if you're interested to partner, you can always send me an email. I'll put my email in there. And if anybody's a part of a school or a group, they can always send me an email and I can connect you with Cindy, who's our education coordinator, and we can get you on the calendar for a farm tour. We do a free farm tour the first Sunday of every month. And there is also a community garden located at Sweetwater Organic Community Farm. So the way that the farm operates is with our farm manager, we have our tasks. You come to the farm and whatever sort of the day, whatever day it is, whatever the tasks are, everybody works on those tasks together. But there's also the Town and Country Community Garden located on Sweetwater Farm. And Scott and Fatima and Lena and Kitty are responsible for that, but it's also a way that you can garden at the community garden at the community garden. So there's
That's great. Thank you so much, Chris. And so you're getting a lot of love in the chat, and I'm so happy to hear that. Sweetwater is just such a cool organization, operation, and Chris and Joni have worked really hard to make sure that it is always an inviting place and that everyone feels welcome. So I definitely encourage everybody to get on their calendars to go check out the Sunday market. And then in the chat, I see that Cindy is sending her email and how to get involved for tours and trips and stuff like that. So thank you so much, Chris. That was really great.
Yeah. I just got one other thing.
Yeah.
So, I just want to say that Joni and I helped to kind of save the farm, but now we've bought our farm. So Joni and I have we've moved our family north. So I'm in Wisconsin right now. That's where I'm from. One of my sons has cerebral palsy. One of my other sons is in high school. And so we've moved our family to Wisconsin, but we come to Florida 1 week a month. We've still, we're committed to Sweetwater. That's why we come to Florida 1 week a month to help manage the farm. But, Sweetwater is a community asset and a community farm. And I'll just say that it's community supported and that it's really in all of our hands to make sure we take care of this farm, but also take care of the other farms and make sure that we have more farms. And I think about John Butts's farm and Eco Farm and Meacham and all the other farmers. We need more farms, and we need to help support the farmers that are out there. And we're not always going to be there, but nobody's always going to be there. That's why we have to make sure that the land is protected, and all of our work will be there forever.
I'm with you. I agree. So any future farmers, head on over to Sweetwater and they'll teach you everything you need to know. Volunteer.
Meacham and Trailbell are doing great things. I mean, they're paying people to learn how to farm, and we're a volunteer-run farm, and we need to bring the economics to the farming. And so I'm thankful for what Meacham and Trailbell and all the other startup farmers are, and long-established Life Farms, Frog Song, Trailbell, Little Pond. Thank you, farmers.
Well, that was a great segue, Chris. So thank you again. Everybody want to give a little round of applause, Zoom round of applause to Chris and Joni and just their family for doing all the great work. So thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. All right. And so next we're going to hear from Nicole from Meacham. And actually, I believe that Nicole and Travis are together, so I have more pictures for Trailbell too, but they can kind of decide how they want to talk about their farm. There's Nicole right there, and there's Travis right there. So take it away. The floor is yours. So thank you so much.
Okay, hello everybody. I am Nicole here. We are at Meacham right now, but it is nighttime now, so not much to see, but you can come out to our farm. We are located between downtown Tampa and Ybor City, so specifically 1108 East Scott Street. If you're on 275, that is exit 41. Super close to the corridor of 275 and I-4, so very easy to get to. We are in our third full season here at Meacham. The project started in 2019 with a grant from HUD, which is the Housing and Urban Development Program that we were awarded through Tampa Housing Authority in partnership with the Hillsborough County School District. So technically this land is owned by the Hillsborough County School District, but they lease it to us in exchange of hosting field trips field trips in all groups of students within the Hillsborough County. So we're so thankful for that. The grant money was enough to get the project started, and so it funded all of the initial infrastructures like our building, our educational pavilion, the farm store, our 3 greenhouses, and like the surveying and grading of the land. But we are now completely self-sufficient. We are we stay afloat with our produce sales as well as ticket sales through all of our events here. So that's farm dinners, workshops, and even farm parties that we throw, which are all a really good time. But we are a 2-acre lot right here in downtown. And so the lot itself is 2 acres, but we're growing on a little bit over 1 acre that's in production. And the first 2 months that we got here and started farming on this site, it was 2 months of digging up rubble because they had demolished a building about 12 years ago here, and it remained a vacant lot since. During that process, a lot of the concrete and piping was buried under the soil. And so when we went into start the vegetable production here that we do, we just kept hitting rocks after rocks after rocks after rocks. And so the first 2 months, a group of us, a small group, about 5, 4, sometimes 5. Yeah, sometimes 5. Travis is saying sometimes 5. That would be him once a week, maybe. Just kidding. But we hand dug up thousands of pounds of concrete rubble in order to get this site prepped to have vegetables produced here. And so the first vegetables we planted in October of 2020, and it's just been getting better and better. So each season has been easier and better based or because of our agriculture practices that we implement here on the farm, the way I explain it, it's like the way that we produce food isn't just not hurting the environment, we're actually helping the environment. And so we grow organically, we also grow regeneratively. And so a lot of those practices focus primarily on the soil health. We take pride in growing in soil. It can be done in an urban setting, but it is a slow process to produce food the way that we do that is actually helpful for the environment. And so with that, we amend the soils and we have been building up the soil year after year with organic amendments such as like compost, biochar, feather meal, things like this that plants love and that produces a wonderful environment for microorganisms to thrive in the soils. So soils should be alive and active, and that's all the microbiology in there that we're trying to cultivate year after year and build up to produce healthy plants. And so with that,
Yeah,
it's
come here.
oh, is there a question? No. Okay. So our, I guess, the way we do things here is that we focus on the soil health and we're trying to create the strongest, like most nutriently dense medium to grow our plants because healthy soil produces healthy plants. And so with that, we've seen great benefits or not just benefits, but we've seen this really work this season specifically. Like the plants are bigger and healthier than ever, producing the yields that we've been waiting for, all with very nutritionally dense food. And with that, also like our agriculture practices, weak and unhealthy plants are attacked with pests and diseases more regularly. And so along with healthy soil and this healthy plant concept that we implement here, healthy plants are just naturally more pest resistant and also disease resistant. And so we don't have to spray synthetic pesticides or any harmful chemicals on our plants because we focus so much on the soil health. I think all here are so happy with like the development that we've made with our soil, and then with this type of farming, it's just year after year gets better because it's that slow buildup. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes care, but it's well worth it in the long run. With that, we also, other practices that we implement is like a minimal soil disturbance. So along with the soil health, we don't do much tilling. We till once a year, and that's to get the season going. But other than that, we are implementing those organic amendments, making the soil like the optimum place to be for all this microbiology to do its magic and make the soil as nutritious as possible for those plants. As well as we implement the system called IPM, which is integrated pest management. So in different areas of our farm, we have beneficial hedgerows and then other different spaces for flowering plants, including native varieties and others that we thought were just beautiful that attract a lot of beneficial insects. So beneficial insects can include pollinators as well as predatory wasps. But these hedgerows and garden spaces, they create a habitat for these insects to thrive and live. And then if we were to have like an outbreak of aphids on our kale, then we have the insects here that we've created the habitat for to go out and kind of mitigate those issues without having to spray those harmful pesticides like I mentioned before. Travis is on my timer, so I appreciate that. We are a for production or for profit farm. But we also have a nonprofit, which is our education side. So we do all of the farming during the week, the planting, harvesting, weeding, and then we sell directly in our on-site farm store. But we also host field trips weekly, as well as have educational workshops that we are trying to promote and do more of, as well as the field trips. But the way how to buy our products is our on-site farm store. And so that is open 4 days a week during the prime season, which is October through May. Fridays 3 to 7, Saturdays 9 to 1, Sundays 10 to 1, and Mondays 3 to 7. So in our farm store, we have all of the produce that we grow directly on site, as well as we source from other local organic farms such as Frog Song, Little Pond, Warden, and Eco Farm. And we have their products in the store, as well as locally raised meats. We have the list here. We have honey, eggs. We do have chickens on our farm as well that produce eggs, and then we source from like Trail Bale and other local organic egg producers. We have locally baked sourdough bread, raw dairy products, pantry goods like dry beans, oils and vinegars, jams, herbs, and spices. So we're trying to become more of a one-stop shop, so people can come here, do their grocery shopping, and make it as easy as possible to support local. And then additionally, how to support us: do your grocery shopping at Meacham Urban Farm, as well as join some of our events. So you can buy tickets for our farm dinners. We have 4 coming up in December. I think 2 of those days are sold out, but a couple other other seats are available 2 other dates. And we're trying to have at least one farm dinner each month, as well as workshops. Even if you don't want to be a beekeeper, you can come and learn about bees. They are fascinating. So, and we have other workshops. We just held a sourdough baking workshop, and then we'll do a vegetable production workshop. I think Travis is going to do a backyard beekeeping workshop. Yeah, sorry, backyard chicken keeping workshop. And then I just wanted to end with that you can tell your friends about us. Obviously, you are supportive if you are if you're joining this call today, but to really show up and shop locally, tell your friends about us. A lot of people have no clue that Tampa has an urban farm. And so just spreading the word about that. And then also, we can't thank you enough for trusting us to feed you and your families. But we are so happy to do so. So thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you. And so there is a question, but I'm going to wait until we get done with Travis to answer it. So that way we can make sure he has enough time. But the question is there any efforts to preserve Meacham or Trail Bale like there was for Sweetwater? So you can kind of think about that answer. And then we'll just circle back to that if there's time at the end. And then so for anybody who hasn't been to Meacham, I guess let's do another quick little Zoom raise of hands. Who here has been to Meacham and checked it out downtown Tampa? Got it. One hand. Got another hand. Okay. Got a few hands, got a few thumbs up. Great. Well, so I hope that all of those hands are raised by like the end of this year, because Meacham is just such a cool project and farm, and you can see in these pictures, you know, Nicole mentioned that they're on an acre, a little over an acre of production, and they can feed hundreds of families, and so it's very cool. Would definitely love you to go and support them. And so finally, our last up is Travis from Trail Bale, who I believe is sitting right there on screen. And so I'm gonna kind of give Travis a little quick intro, and he, I think, writes his own newsletters, and they're kind of the highlight of my week. And by week, I mean whenever they come, because I don't think there's always a rhyme or a reason. But they're so funny. And not only would I encourage you to sign up for his newsletter, but also the Meacham newsletter, and then the Sweetwater one as well. I actually, when I went on to Meacham's site to get some photos, I saw all those events, and I was looking at my calendar to see which ones I can attend. So Travis, if you want to kind of land the plane and let us know about what you do, and share your story with us, we'd love to close our night out. I've also, I think people are maybe a little concerned. The meeting is until 7:30, and I don't think we're going to take all that time. So like the Zoom should not just close out. But yeah, Travis, if you want to talk a little bit, and then we'll do some questions.
Okay, great. Yeah, I prefer questions to just blind talking, so I'll make it pretty quick. So yeah, I'm Travis with Trailbell Farm. We are an organic, soy-free, corn-free, pasture-based meat and eggs operation out in Winona, Sassa, close to Temple Terrace. The main farm, Trailbell proper, is a little over 8 acres, and I'm leasing a 10-acre field from a friend nearby. My prime crop, so to speak, is chicken. I raise about 3,000 meat chickens a year. We raise a couple hundred turkeys for Thanksgiving. We've got right now about 380 egg layers on the farm, and we keep flocks of pigs, about 10 at a time, every couple months at the farm. So that's what we're doing. The big concept of the farm is moving everybody around. Out in nature, animals don't stay in one spot for very long. They move. They go to a place, they disturb the soil, they get what they need from it, they fertilize it, and they move on. And they leave the soil better. They get rid of their pollutions and turn it into an asset as opposed to a liability. It goes back into the grass. It creates thicker grass for the next animals who come around. The next animal comes around, digs through the manure of the previous animal and breaks parasite and disease life cycles, because putting different animals on the same spot will do that. And I'm not so much of a farmer, I'm more of an engineer, and I love the big concept of a whole system farm. And so that's why I fell in love with animals, because I think it's the best way to do it. You can really just let them get out there and you steer them. It's kind of letting nature do what it wants, and you just steer it in the right direction and let it happen. So I'm going on, I guess, 11 years of doing it. Been sitting at farmers markets for about 8 or 9 years. Kind of built up a loyal clientele, people who are looking, people come to me for different reasons. They like my prime reason for doing it is environmental. I think there's a lot of benefits to local agriculture, and especially to pasture raised, intensively grazed meat operations. So that's my angle for taking it. But there's a bunch of side benefits. It's very healthy. It tastes better. It's you're getting it fresher because it's nearby. So there's a lot of good things that come about having animals in this kind of situation. I sell at I sell straight from the farm. I sell at farmers markets and here at Meacham Urban Farm. Basically, the ways you can get it from me, if you check the website, trailbill.com, I've got a pretty decent online store, and it gives you a list of places where you can buy. You can pre-order on the site and have it waiting for you at the spots. So Meacham Urban Farm is my main base of operation. I'm a partner here at Meacham as well. We keep the freezer stocked. I go over to the St. Pete Saturday morning market every weekend and set up there. We've got a cooler over at Chris's Sweetwater Farm that's got some meats in it, and you can pick up directly from Trailbell Farm, which is out in Winona, Sassa. Picking up from there is free to order ahead of time and then come and self-serve. I'm over at Meacham half the time or doing something, so I'm not around a lot, and we don't have a proper store set up. Trying to make this pretty quick, so I'll leave it to questions because I think I covered the bases.
Well, that was great. Thank you. And so we have another newsletter fan in the chat. So your jokes are going appreciated to at least 2 people.
Yeah. The main product of the farm is the free newsletter that you get every week, and where I tell you everything that went wrong, and it's long. It's a long newsletter.
You got a new puppy recently to help, but maybe he hurt sometimes. But that's been a fun adventure, learning about that. But yeah, so now I would love to open it to any questions. We have that one in the chat. Oh, and these were just also some other guiding questions. What you wanted to get into farming, things that you want consumers to know about your farm, or one of your best experiences. So I don't know if any of the farmers want to come on and answer those questions, or if we want to just kind of do the Q&A. I did make a quick little graph of different ways to support these farmers. So these are the different direct to consumer markets that we quickly talked about. And so these are where you can go and see and get those products. And so on Sunday, Sweetwater has a farmer's market on their farm. Trail Bales at miscellaneous ones, I guess maybe just a Saturday market, it seems like. And then online sales, both Meacham and Trail Bale have those. Everybody kind of has an on-farm store. Oh,
Monica.
We've got an exclusive here. We got an exclusive announcement.
Yeah, an announcement here. We are launching delivery. As the first one will be the week before Thanksgiving, so coming up here in a week or so. I think you have to pre-order by the 14th online for the delivery on the 17th. But you can now pre-order and get all of our products delivered to your doorstep. So that includes all produce, meats, honey, eggs, all the pantry goods as well, milk too. Everything can be delivered directly to your doorstep. And that is, I guess, caveat, within a certain range, but all of that information is on our website under Farm Store, under Order Online, and then you can either choose to get it delivered or pre-order and have it available here for pickup, ready to go. So
very cool. Well, that's great. So exclusive content for showing up tonight. You're the first to know that delivery is on the way. So that's exciting. That's a big step for the farm. I know there's logistics that go involved. I know that there's labor that goes involved. So that's really exciting. And then I said that the farm card was kind of like a CSA because people buy on the farm card. So basically you preload a monetary commitment that you're going to spend at Meacham. And so you can load your card with $400, and that means that you're going to spend that money at Meacham. It helps them better kind of plan to know what volume, what sales look like. But you can also just go and buy retail as well. So Meacham has both those options, and then Sweetwater does have a CSA, kind of more that traditional model, but it seems like they're full. So I would encourage you to get on their newsletter, so that way next year you can be on the early know about when to sign up for that. I don't think anybody's doing U-Pick, right? Have you guys ever done like a U-Pick? Yeah. So maybe Travis one day will do a U-Pick chicken, and that'll be a fun experience.
Coming 2024, you pick your pig.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And then lastly, the on-farm events. These are really just so much fun. It's really great to be able to meet other people that are also invested in supporting the farm. Usually there's some music and some libations and delicious food. And you also get to see the farmers as like normal people versus when they're at the market or when they're at the farm. And so it's nice to see everybody dressed up and hosting. So check out those websites, check out those events, and please, and then Chris reminded us that Sunday's volunteer day, 9 to noon every Sunday. So first we're going to answer Maria's question about Meacham and long-term plans for that. And then if anybody else has any questions, either put them in the chat or the Q&A, or just raise their hands. And if we don't see anything by the time we answer this question, then we'll probably wrap it up. Chris wants to know what's in Travis's card today. All right, so what's the plan for Meacham? Is there any long-term planning?
You want to take it?
Sure. We're hoping to be here as long as possible. We've been talking with the school district about securing this land. We've put a lot of work into it, and again, as Nicole pointed out, it only gets better with time. And the investment we put in labor and time and money into the soil to pick up and leave would be a travesty. So we're working really hard to show our value to the school district, and we have a ton of supporters there. And I don't think we're going anywhere anytime soon. But we don't have 100% control over it. Trail bale, we'll see. We're right next to the interstate. They may expand and kick us out, but animals aren't that hard to move, and pasture is different than vegetable production. So I can move pretty easy, but I should be there for a while.
Cool. Well, I know that you all sent an email out on the Meacham side of things asking for support for through city council and things like that. So definitely keep me in the know and all of us in the know through your newsletter and socials and anything, because I know there's a lot of support for you. And Maria kind of followed up. What can we do to help support the preservation, letter writing, anything like that? And then Chris did mention that on November 15th is a public hearing for Sweetwater. So if people are invested in making sure that these assets, these long-term land assets, stay committed to local farming, then yeah, either email your city council person and tell them you love Meacham, or and then also show up to the county on the 15th to let them know that you love Sweetwater.
And also just not to be crass, but just show up and shop. I mean,
Yeah.
keeping the farmers happy is one way to keep us around too. There's no retirement plans for farmers. So a vibrant, healthy market with a great community is its biggest asset, and it's going to really impress the city people and really knock their socks off. So the more supporters there are out, who support it in that way, it's a big deal.
Absolutely.
One of the questions before this slide was like, what's the one thing you want people to know about your farm or you as a farmer? And it is like, nothing will change if everyone keeps shopping at Whole Foods and Publix and Winn-Dixie and all these places. Like, you have to break your habits and come support like local agriculture. Like, it matters to come out, vote with your dollar, if you've heard about that. Put your money where it counts, which is, in local ag, supporting the local economy, small business. It helps the environment. Like, there's so many benefits of supporting local. You can't go wrong. And it is, it is such a great thing that all three of these farms are doing here for the community. And but it is with and for the community, and so we just love for everyone to like show up and support in that way, because it does matter and we take notice and it's very important.
It's a life changer. If you show up at Meacham 5 times, you're a regular customer and everyone knows your name and you're a big deal. It's not gonna happen at Publix.
That's true. They don't say know your grocer, they say know your farmer. Yeah, well, and so just to kind of continue what Nicole is saying about economic power and things like that, I was really fortunate to go to grad school up in Vermont, and my advisor did a study on if Vermont consumers shifted just 1% of their normal grocery purchasing to local farms, that would create this like multi-billion-dollar impact throughout the economy. And Vermont is a state of 600,000 people. Hillsborough County is double that. And so you can think there, if just shifting a small amount of your grocery bill towards these local farmers, then we can really kind of see these repercussions flow throughout the community. and hopefully these different values kind of start to unfold and this impact to be made. So as Thanksgiving approaches, if you're gonna have a carrot dish, anything with onions, anything with leafy greens, anything with beets, you know, you want, I know that Travis, I think, is selling local turkey. Maybe it's already full though. You know, those kind of things, consider, you know, make your list and kind of circle the things that you can get from Meacham. Show up on Friday evening, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, Monday evening, and see if you can shift some of those dollars towards these local producers, because it does mean a lot, and we do have kind of the power to influence change. So and then so I see that Maria asked a question about the farm ID, and so basically what that was earlier in the presentation was talking about how there's different levels of marketing. And a farm ID just stands for identification. So often when you go to a larger grocer, you don't necessarily see like the farm it came from. You see the name of the produce company that aggregated it, but not necessarily that connection with the farmer. So so just to answer that question in the chat. So before we go, anybody else wanna say anything to our farmers? You can where do you answer questions? Oh, sorry, Chandra, I didn't see that. Do you have a question, Chandra? Would you like to ask? You can come off mute. All right. Doesn't seem that way. Well, I know that all three of these people are very accessible. You can email them through, I think they both have, or all three of them have info at Meacham Urban Farm or things like that. So so thank you so much to the farmers for being here. Thank you to all of the participants. Let me know what type of events you'd like to learn more about. I promise you I'll get better technology. And so thank you for being patient with me in the beginning. Thank you for the great feedback. I hope this is worth an hour of your evening. Yeah, I would really love to know what other type of content you want to see. Maybe we can do a farmer tour someday, like in real life. Also happy to do more educational stuff. So stay tuned. Lastly, if you haven't already, Homegrown Hillsborough is running a residential survey. And if you want to see more things like this, if you want to see more local farms, we want to know that. And so you can go to homegrownhillsborough.com and take the survey. And one of the questions is, do you want to see more local farms in your county? And based on that, I can go help and advocate for saving land, helping with infrastructure costs, things like that. So thank you all for tuning in tonight. Thank you, farmers, for attending and growing. Thank you for growing our food. And hope to see everybody soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Go ahead.